Happy Friday, everybody. It's Friday at 5. You know what happens on Friday at 5. You know it's time for a conversation with Brother Raymond. I just want to tell you that God is good, and it should be a faithful Friday for you and you. And as Oprah say, you get a faithful Friday, you get a faithful Friday, because I sure enough got a faithful Friday. And without further ado, I'm gonna fall off this screen and I'm gonna bring on Brother Raymond, and later and introduce you to our special guest for the evening. But until then, I'm gonna bring in Brother Raymond.
Good evening, good evening. Welcome to a conversation with Brother Raymond. I'm your host. I'm excited, y'all. I'm doing it live from Dallas, Texas. In Dallas, Texas, we're celebrating one of my brother's birthday. I'll be here all weekend. As always, we got to give God his reference, so let's get right to it. Heavenly Father, we thank you for waking us up in our right frame of mind, allowing us to live to see another day. Lord, we ask that you continue to keep us from all harm and danger. Protect us, protect our children, protect our city, protect our elderly, protect anyone who needs your help. And always let them know, Lord, that you are there and the door is open. And if anyone needs you, all they have to do is surrender and pray. We pray all these things in your mighty precious Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you again, and welcome to a conversation with Brother Raymond. I'm your host. I am so excited. My guest will be here in a few minutes. But before I get into that, anybody celebrating a birthday, happy birthday. Anybody who lost a loved one, BST heart goes out to y'all in y'all time of bereavement. We pray that God strengthens you and carries you. And as always, we love all the children, all the young men and women who is doing their thing in school. We salute you. We take our hats off to you. We empower, uplift, and we encourage you to keep going as further as you can go, because the sky is the limit. We thank you very much. And without further ado, Katie Lowe, bring on our guest. Let's get into it.
Listen, we've got an awesome guest for today. She is a compliance trader by day and a podcaster by night. I call her opinionated Lorie, but she just want to be known as Lorie Williams. And without further ado, watch this.
Hey, hey, what's up?
Hey. How you doing, Lorie? How you feeling?
I'm doing good, Brother Raymond. How are you?
I'm great. So before we get into this hot topic, give the people a background on who you is and what you do, so they'll be
Okay.
familiar with you.
Well, hey, so like Katie Lowe said, I am a trade compliance manager by day and podcaster by night. So I guess people might ask, what is a trade compliance manager?
Boom.
Um, that is basically dealing with imports and exports, making sure that all the shipments that are coming into the U.S. for various companies are legal. And if I run into any problems with the government, I help companies figure it out
Okay.
without getting fined.
All right.
And then, as you know, I'm part of the Rhythm Flow Radio family. I have been on hiatus for the summer for the Opinions podcast and live stream. So looks like I'm starting back up again. We had a great show, and you were on our show on Monday, and it was fantastic.
Yes.
And and I'm just loving life.
Oh, well, first and foremost, again, we thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. And I know we're going to do some great things going down the road. God already showed me. So let's get to this topic. So we're here today to talk about the Florida inmate starved to death, unable to reach his food after officers paralyzed him. And we're talking about our brother, Craig Ridley. And I'm just going to read a little sermon for it, and then we can get right into it.
Okay.
He told the guard, "My neck is broke. I'm paralyzed," said Craig Ridley from a wheelchair. The officer replied, "You're bullshitting. You're just trying to get a lawsuit." Ridley laid on the floor of his cell for the next 5 days, pleading for help as officers dropped trays of food he couldn't reach. Just hours before officers tackled him, check this out. Just hours before, officers tackled him to the ground, dislocating his neck. A report by the Miami Herald included details from a 383-page investigation by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement has shined a light on the hidden story of Ridley's death. FDLE's report found Ridley died because of his injuries and starvation. His fellow inmates and family members told investigators his death may have been a cover-up. Ridley was sentenced to a 20-year mandatory minimum on attempt murder charges in 2007. So you look at 2007, 2021. He had just completed half his sentence. He was actually on his way home. The morning of September the 8th, 2017, correctional officers got into a struggle with Ridley. Now, why is that? That's not clear either.
Yeah.
Tackling him to the ground, check this out. Face first.
Oh my God.
According to the video footage, he was brought to a wheelchair after telling the officers, I can't walk. Man, something wrong with me. I can't walk. He was taken, check this out, to a solitary confinement, not a hospital. They didn't get a doctor to look at him. Took him to solitary confinement. An officer propped him up on the cell's toilet.
That's
now,
horrible.
It's doing something to me right now. But when I first read this, it just gave me chills all over my body like I got now. He fell over. Because you can't sit up. He ain't got no legs. He ain't got no movement. He just like a rag doll.
Oh my God.
Breaking his nose. He fell, face forward, and he broke his nose. An inmate signaled to the officers that Ridley was lying in a pool of his own blood. Ridley was finally taken to see a doctor, Gene Doerr, who concluded, check this out, y'all, there was nothing wrong with him and conducted no neurology tests despite the lifelessness of Riley's limbs and his inability to move on his own, according to the FDLE. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about y'all, but I know I am sick and tired of these officers, whether they're police officers, correctional officers, field officers, doing us any way they want to doing us and getting away with it. I mean, now, it's so much going on here that we can use and we will use on the show. But Lorie, just to read that is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, it hurts so bad to hear it. And because I was once him, so I'm looking at it could have easily been me.
Right.
That got into a confrontation with an officer. He grabbed me in the headlock, slammed me down to the ground face first, broke my neck, and then just treated me like a rag doll, what they did.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, whatever happened to respecting human life? I mean, it seems that everything just seems so disposable, that people don't respect life and forget just life, but just respecting a person as a human being. And
well, let's keep it what it is, respecting the black and brown.
Absolutely.
That's what that is.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
It's like it's so sad. And then when I look at his picture, and I see that the brother, he was healthy and he was on his way home.
Yep.
And so,
and he was not paralyzed prior to.
No, he wasn't, because they got into a scuffle for whatever reason.
And they broke his back, basically. Yeah. Right.
And you broke that man's neck, and then not only did you break his neck, you tried to cover it up and put the man in solitary confinement, and then you propped him up on the toilet to set him up. So knowing he can't move, what are you gonna do? He gonna fall over.
Yep.
And that's what he did.
And what happened to like video or having some kind of a video camera?
They got the video footage of it. That's what caught him.
That's what caught. Okay.
That's what got them.
So they don't even care. They're just emboldened. They feel that they can treat people any kind of way.
Exactly.
Under video surveillance. I mean, that's just outrageous.
It's just letting us know further and further, like Michael Jackson say, they don't care about us. And so it's so disturbing when you hear and read about these things that you the activism in me just rises up, and I'm just like, and then I think about, I played a tape back when I was incarcerated, and I'm saying, see, that's why we did what we did to them guards back then, because we knew that if we didn't stick together, a lot of us wouldn't make it out of there, and a lot of us still didn't make it out of there. But for the unity we had, a lot of us did make it out. But this here is egregious. This is just downright, that's wrong, Lorie. I mean, that's like you say, no respect to God is a respect of no person. We understand that, but you can't play God.
Nope.
And they playing God. They the
absolutely.
Jury, execution, and the jury.
It's so it's like a whole different. It's a whole different set of rules.
Exactly, and they made them up. Their rules. They're not playing by the rules. They're playing by their rules.
So what do you? I mean, you've been in the system before, Brother Raymond, and what do you think it's going to take to get some sort of? I know people like Kim Kardashian. She well, I guess worked on prison reform and things like that, but I don't even know if that really had any effect on people's lives that are inside of the joint. What do you think it's going to take to just to get people just to have respect, just to within just okay, like you've been locked up, you've done things, whatever, but still you're a human being and you deserve to have a life after you have done your sentence. Like, what can be done about this?
Well, one thing they have to do, they have to shake up they have to strip the whole prison system, just like they got to strip all these systems and rebuild them. Because we already see it's not working. The wardens, right? The correctional officers, the counselors, they do practically jack it, right? And I'm meaning, I'm speaking from experience. Okay. We had a counselor there when I was in there. And the counselor used to tell me, you got 15 minutes. You better make the best case you can make, because I got 5 other penitentiaries I got to go to, and I don't have time. So I'm going to give you 15 minutes. I'm going to get 5 or 6 of them 15 minutes, and I got to go. We used to call them spin doctors, because that's all they did. They would spin us, tell us we can get stuff. We never got anything that we put out there. So they're not doing their job. The warden's not doing their job. And the correctional officers are basically town hall, the town, what you call them, town?
The court jester.
Yeah, so they from the town. They hire them as their brothers and cousins. They hire them as correctional officers and bring them in the penitentiary penal system, and they virtually have no sympathy. They don't have no education on what's really going on. And you got to remember, it's the color of our skin.
Right.
So the prisons bring jobs to these little rural towns, Stateville, Menard, and all these towns, East Moline. Bring jobs there. And then when they hire them, they're usually people from the town, so it's a buddy system. But the wardens, they don't do their job. The assistant wardens, all the way down, it needs to be clean, a clean slate, and they have to rebuild. And they have to be held accountable for their actions, because there's been many lives I've seen lost in there. There's many lives that could have been prevented, and there's many lives that the correctional officers have taken too, beating us to death, throwing us in solitary confinement for 8, 9, 12 months. Who goes in solitary confinement for a year?
Yeah, that's inhumane. I mean, human beings, we need to have sunlight and human interaction.
Exactly. So they treat us like animals. Yeah. They treat us like animals. And so this is what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about we need it, and from the top down, they need to be stripped of their powers. Yeah. And these officers need to be held accountable just like the police officers. If they got a pension, that pension should also go to the inmate's family for the loss of his life, even though they ain't going to bring them back. But that'll let them know that we're not playing. And they should be charged for murder. That was murder.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. You mentioned about solitary confinement, and I think one good example, a large scale example of how deadly that is by isolating human beings, is what happened during COVID. Look at look how the crime shot up, and actually, so what, we went under lockdown in March 2020.
Yeah.
And you see, I mean, just in Chicago, and not only Chicago, I mean, it's, DC, LA, New York has been having the same increase in crime. People, they literally lost their minds.
Exactly.
And they haven't recovered them. So I mean, you see, carjackings and just everything that's going on.
Right.
That's not a natural state for human beings. So then if you have people behind, even in a worse, I mean, not that, it was a lockdown, but we still had our freedom. But if you take that situation and put people behind bars and you have them in solitary confinement,
there you go.
That's disastrous. And then where's the rehabilitation? Because let's face it, really, the goal should be of the correctional system is to rehabilitate people and to get them.
But that's what's in the paper. That's what's in the paperwork. Rehabilitation. These are supposed to be rehabilitation centers.
Exactly.
But there's no rehabilitation going on. And the great point you said about the COVID. Now you think about the COVID on the outside was terrible.
Oh.
So it had to have been horrendous on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get no help. They can't get no food. They can't get out. They can't do anything. But you have to stay in your cell. Now they already doing them 18 and I think it was 18 and 6 and 23 and 1, right?
Right.
So you're already doing that. Just imagine that's taken from you. You ain't getting no meal. You can't get no visits. You're not getting the proper medical care. So now you're left in there to rot. You're not getting the shots, right?
Yep.
They're not sending nobody in there to give no COVID shots. They're not doing that.
Yep.
And then so many people getting sick. So now me and my cellmate, I done gave it to my cellmate. He spread it to the next cell. No. Now everybody got coronavirus, and we're doing what? In the cell, dying.
Yep.
And people are not reporting that.
Yep. And I'm going to say that this, I mean, really, it's really, and not, I mean, I don't think this is being dramatic, the humanitarian crisis happening.
Exactly. It is. You're absolutely right. And as me working with so many returning citizens that's still incarcerated, they call my phone. They can call my phone anytime.
Mm-hmm.
They call me all the time. In fact, I just got a call from Sheridan earlier, right? I get calls from Stateville, Pontiac, Menard. And so they're telling me all this inhumane. It's mold in there, right? It's coal in there, right? It's mice in there, right? It's bugs in there, right?
Oh,
you get bit by this stuff. You don't know what it is. And then you tell them that something bit me. And they tell you, ain't nothing wrong with you. Take an aspirin. They think everything you take a pill and the pill gonna magically cure these people, and it's not. And there's been many cases that when you have mold in your cell, you're breathing that in. So that's going in your system. So that's going to deteriorate your system, and it can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are the things that's going on inside of these penitentiaries that people don't know about. Then the abuse, like they just said in this article.
Yep.
After they did what they did to Brother Ridley, they took him to solitary confinement and propped him up on a damn toilet to make it look like he was on a toilet, and then when he fell, it looked like he fell on his own.
Oh my God.
That's how that was set up.
Yeah.
But it backfired on him because when they had to go take him to the hospital, and he had to get observed, they found out, oh, this man been paralyzed from day one.
Yep.
So how did this happen?
Wow.
And then not long with the 383 pages that they had on these people already, they're letting you know it's racism in there.
Mm-hmm.
All of this plays that racial profiling.
Yep.
Because I wonder, do they do that to everybody, or do they just do it to the black and brown people?
Right. And here's the other thing too. And I'm sure that you can. I've watched a few, and I'm not really sure why, but I watch a few prison shows on YouTube. And this one is, I think it's called Lockdown 23 and 1 is the name of it. But they just talk about even just kind of like the racial dynamic in each prison system. I think this guy, he was locked up in, I think in Virginia, somewhere in Virginia. But I guess every state has its own dynamic where, let's say black people, white, brown, they have their own kind of gangs that associate with different people. And then, the correctional officers. So there's also that dynamic that's kind of happening in there too. So it's crazy. I just wonder, like, what kind of oversight can you have to make sure that things, because, you know, there's, I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of illegal things that happen, that people end up getting phones in there that shouldn't have
illegal
phones,
stuff all
and
the time,
drugs.
and it goes with the, again, color of the skin and money. If you have the money, you can get just about anything in there but a woman.
Wow. You kind of get one when you're
you can get one on a conjugal visit. You get a conjugal visit. You go from a regular visit to a conjugal visit in an instance, because money talks. And this goes from the warden. The warden has to okay this stuff. See, this is what I'm saying. And then to know this stuff is going on in your prison, and you're not doing anything to help or improve it, says a lot about that warden and their character. And so I can remember when a young man, we was in Pontiac, and young man was on the new, and we know what goes on the new. You know, they put him in the wrong cell, and, you know, things can happen. So this particular young man was getting raped, right? And he was screaming, "Help! Help me! Help me! Somebody help me!" And nobody helped. We was all locked up, of course. We couldn't come out and help, but no guards attended. No guards went and responded. And so the very next day, when the doors rolled, he found a weapon and he killed his offender.
Oh, wow.
So this boy wasn't even in there for nothing major, but just goes to show you how dramatic things is in the penitentiary, and how you can go in there for one thing and never come out.
And it gets out of hand.
And go out in a body bag. You know, as another instance, a young man, he said he couldn't take it. He was telling me, "I can't take it. I can't do it." And they laughed, "Well, you got to do it. You're in prison. You got to do it." And so when the doors rolled on there, we was on Folk Gallery. Never forget it. The man jumped off the banister, so he killed himself because he couldn't take it. So this is the mental health pieces that goes on in there as well.
Yep.
You got sexual abuse, you got violence, you got drugs, you got all this going on inside of this place, and nobody's really reporting it, and nobody's being corrected, nobody being accountable, and nobody's being responsible, and it's been going on for decades. And I just don't understand how nobody can see that this needs changing. These wardens, these correctional officers, that's racist, first of all, and they biased, and so it has to change. It's just crazy. It's just so sad.
Because they should set the tone to what's happening in there. But so I guess my question, like, are they benefiting from this, like the correctional officers and the warden? And
well, they might be. Like, we don't know. We don't know what the magnitude of it is, or is it the higher uppers?
Right.
See, it's like we looking at the small picture. It might be a bigger picture than that. You know what I'm saying? Because for nothing to be done in none of these states where you see all this stuff going on, riots, you got some places where the police the officers are scared of the inmates, and it used to be like that back in the day, and then they took their penitentiaries back. So now they have the power. That's why it's the 23-1 and the 18-6 and stuff like that, because they let you know we have the power now. But even with that, there's still some corruption that goes on in the penitentiary, and that is from not only the officers, it goes all the way up to the wardens, because the wardens are playing a major part in it, and then all the underhand stuff, like you said, that we going in there that we unaware about, that the inmates are trying to tell. They can't tell it because guess what? If they send it out in the mail, they read your mail.
Right.
So if you send anything out to alarm somebody, they tear that up, throwing it in there.
So they'll never see the light of day.
Never see the light of day. Then they'll come up and write you a ticket saying you're being insubordinate for something they'll make up and put you in a hole for 90 days. And then they keep doing that to you. For instance, I have a couple of clients, they keep putting in a hole because he know his rights and his human rights. He know they're being violated. And he actually sued them. I think, what is that, Menard, I think it is. And every time that he serves out of his cell, like he got 90 days, he come out of the hole, he out the hole 2 weeks. They'll come up with some other stuff. I said, that's a conspiracy. And I'm telling his wife, that's
and they keep putting it back in there.
And putting them back in there.
Oh my God.
That's the psychological game that they try to drive us insane, to say, you're going to cooperate, you're going to do what we tell you, or this is the end of it. And this is how they break us.
Wow.
This is how they break us for real, because You don't want to keep being in a cell. It's cold. You naked. You ain't got really nothing. You down there naked. So they slide the door and they give you food like that for real. They just throw your food in
like
there.
your animal, basically.
And that's animalistic behaviors that's going on in these penitentiaries, and nobody's talking about it. Now these crooked correctional officers, they're going home every day to their loved ones, eating, and they'll tell them what they send at the boss. Yeah, I had to beat a nigger. We had to put a nigger in solitary confinement, and they probably have their quota of how they do this. I'm not saying that's true because it's just my opinion, but what I've seen is that they work out of corruption from the minute you get in there, when you're going through, when you're coming in on the new.
Right.
Get
and
your
what, so people don't understand what is the new? Can you explain?
Oh, when you first come in the penitentiary and you get your care package, they call it, right? So you get your pillow, you get your linen, you get your uniform, you get all that stuff. So now you get this and you're going through the line. Now you don't know because you don't. And they just do something wrong. They jump on you about that, or they do something to you about that. And then let me take it back. Before you even get there, look how corrupt Cook County jails are.
What's going on?
You would rather go to the penitentiary than be in Cook County jail.
Really?
I'm just keeping it real. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Listen, you go through the line. It's a yellow line, and that's why all these young men, we all of us got lawsuits because they made a strip search that was illegal. Made a strip search, bend over and cough, while these people are looking in your anal. Ain't that something?
Oh my God, that's almost sexual abuse. And
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. Then they want to give us a few $100. Ain't that something? You should have been giving us a few $20,000 per inmate because y'all violated this cause. And so that's another thing. That's why they talking about get rid of Tom Dart. Tom Dart really has to go out of Cook County. He's not doing nothing. But anyway, so you go through this line and they torture you, right? Then you don't know. Again, you're in a process and you might go the wrong way. Oh, forbid in Cook County jail you go the wrong way. They gonna hit you, and then when they whoop you, they don't just whoop you one. It's 5 and 6. They gang you just like a gang. They ain't nothing but a gang.
Wait, so you're talking? These are the COs doing this.
These are the COs.
Okay.
They're nothing but gang bang. It's a gang, but they're correctional officers. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm talking about. And then you graduate from there, and then you go down to the big house, and it's the same thing, but it's systematically set up. This is what I'm saying. And so with the Ridley case, that's just another case, a sad case of they not respecting our human and civil rights, and they treating us like animals. And this animalistic behavior has to stop. We have to get up on phone calls. I'll be calling the governor of Florida. I got some other people that I'm gonna be calling from Florida, and we're gonna get some more into this. This is just part one of this because we're gonna get down to that because it's just enough is enough. So that's what I'm talking about. But this is what the correctional officers does. And when I tell you, Lorie, it's like life and death. It's like life and death. Some of them guys, they know who to mess with and who not to mess with. Now you take it from the Aryan hoods, the white gangs. They don't even mess with them at all. They get anything they want. They do what the hell they want, and it's nothing to be said. So we created the Black Guerrilla Mafia family, right?
Okay.
And all blacks, brown, all of color had to come together because this is the only way we was gonna survive. The correctional officers and the Aryan gang, the white gangs, right? So we had to come together in order to overtake them. We fighting too, man. We fighting the Aryan gang, and then we fighting correctional officers too. So we got to be on P's and Q's, and believe it.
Now, what about the black and Hispanic gangs? Is there some sort of kind of a coming together on that, or
we have to? It's when it comes to color, it don't matter. The white racist inmates, they do not like blacks, Hispanics, no foreigners. They don't like none of them. They're against if you ain't for the white, if you're not white, you ain't right to them.
Wow.
Period. Don't care who you is. So you got to be careful with that. And then it's a lot of Aryan hood gangs that runs these penitentiaries, right? Somebody put up K-21 as a movie that details an uninspiring look at the psychological impact of solitary confinement on Netflix. Exactly. But I'm telling you
I gotta check that
firsthand
out.
how it was, and you're sitting there in darkness, total darkness. You don't have nothing. And you might be there from 30, 60, 90, sometimes 4 and 5 months. Come on, man. That's inhumane.
Yep.
And this is what we were talking about. This is what I fight about. And people just act like they don't hear that. And then the thing that bothers me the most is not that these corrupt people, it's the people's family who is not pressing charges against these people for doing your loved ones like that.
Yeah, because they probably don't even know, and they probably don't have enough money to to retain.
But once the word gets out, right? That's why we tell them, check on your loved ones, because you never know what's going on. Because if you don't have no money coming in, you don't get no visits, you ain't get no phone calls and none of that, they label you as a ward of the state. They call you a state baby. That means the state takes care of you, right? And so you get treated just like that.
Wow.
So it's a lot goes on. Then, like they talking about the psychological piece that they just put up there, they right. It and I wasn't even in a hole in the place psychological. You know what? I prayed every day. I said, Lord, I don't know if I'm gonna ever make it out of here, but I just pray I do. Because you never know. It can go up in any minute, any second.
Oh, God.
You can be on the yard, you can be in the gym, you can even be a child. It can go up. And once it go up, ain't no turning it down.
Right.
Ain't no stopping. It's on and popping. Now you
have to defend yourself, right? I mean.
And then not only that, you got the officers. Now they get to play shooting, target practice with us, all that. So it's a lot goes on in there. So you just pray, like, Lord, I just pray I make it out. And I should always pray. And then it always got down to Lorie, like 90 days. Like they say and this in every penitentiary.
What was your longest stint?
You off talk. When you're at 90 days, you off talk, right? So I did 6 years back to back, and 4s, a few 2s, and a couple of, I guess what they call crackheads, 2 years, whatever. But
that's what they call it.
That's what they call a crackhead bitch. You ain't
okay.
But so every 90 days, you off talk, right? So you start to pray for them 90 days until you out of there. Would you even make it out of there? Because you don't know if you're gonna make it out of there.
Wow.
Whether it be an inmate or whether it be an officer.
So you just never know what it can come from any angle.
You don't know who your enemy is.
Wow.
Because if I'm in life, I got life. I ain't never going home. Why I care about you going home?
Right. In fact, you might be even jealous of someone that might be a short timer, right?
But back to these officers, they don't have no training. They don't have the proper training, and they don't have the respect of us treating our inmate, because you are human. No matter what you did, okay, it is some horrendous cases in there. Yeah, we're not saying that's not the case. What we're saying is he's in a state custody.
Yep.
Or he is in federal custody, so you have to treat them that way. But what they treat us is like cattle. We're branded. First of all, you got your number. Mine is K95623. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
It's embedded in my head. See what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness.
So now you're a number, right? So now this numbers game, and when you recidivate, you help them. You increase the penitentiary's pay because they get almost $20,000 a year for you.
Well, so here's the thing, though. This is exactly it. The prison industrial complex. I mean, that is like the elephant in the room. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, they built a whole industry around this, and have like financial goals, like a corporation. There's something kind of cool about that. And instead of like really focusing on rehabbing people and getting them, back into being, productive citizens, and you're building a business model around this. I mean, there's something kind of sick about that.
And you're absolutely right, because it's a business.
Yep.
And people act like they don't understand this, or oh no, I'm not saying people need to be locked up. We're not saying that.
Right.
People do need to go to jail, but you got a lot of these cases where people need mental health.
Yep.
They need recovery.
Yep.
Right. These are the most two common things, mental health and recovery. Because I might be strung out on drugs, so that's gonna cause me to continuously commit these offenses, and I'm
Right.
gonna keep
Absolutely.
coming back. I've been there 6 times, Lorie, 6 times.
Wow.
So, but that was in the horrors of my addiction.
Someone's just asking a question. Are Cook County prisons guaranteed income?
Oh, it's always.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Because that's one of the biggest, Cook County Jail is one of the biggest jails in the world.
Wow.
That's almost 12 to 15,000 inmates.
And that's all that is money, right?
All that is money. This is just money.
Yep.
And the thing that we're doing is working with is probably on the reform side is because this is the catch. The law said you're innocent until proven guilty. But when you're black, you're guilty until you prove that you're innocent.
Yeah.
So that means you can have a job, you can be caught up in a situation, and nobody proved that you're guilty, but you're going to stay incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your family, you might lose your house, you're going to lose everything.
So like in Cook County, though, people, they're waiting to be tried. So they
exactly.
So what if they are innocent? They're sitting there, and oftentimes people are innocent. They may have been set up.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
That's what the justice system says, but it's guilty till proven innocent when you're black and you're brown.
Right.
And so that's why we're doing the bail reform, because brothers and sisters need to be able to come home and continue that have jobs, be able to continue to work and fight this case from the streets.
Because it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
And nobody
cheap.
wants a public defender either, because that's.
And then you ain't proven guilty yet.
Right.
So technically, you're still innocent. You just been accused of something. So why would you lock me up for a year, 2, 3 years? I'm in the Cook County system fighting for my freedom, and I'm not even been found guilty yet.
Haven't even been tried yet.
When I am found guilty, I done lost everything I own.
Yep. Now here, okay, so let me play devil's advocate on it, because there's been a lot of debate that people, and just on social media, and people kind of, I think, probably exaggerating it, but you hear a lot of people saying, oh, okay, well, if someone, they're accused of some heinous violent crime, they're going to be out in the street until, I guess, under this new proposal for January, not proposal, but the newly implemented law, they'll be out there and they'll be able to commit the same crime again. What do you think about that? Do you think
that's absolutely right. Now I agree with them on that, because no one should have I'm in there on a gun charge, right? And it's been shown all last 3-4 years. Mm-hmm. Young man had a gun charge. They let him out on house arrest. He go and commit another crime. Matter of fact, he went and committed a murder while he was on house arrest.
Right.
So they treating a gun crime, but this is part of the system. Y'all have to understand this. Right. This is by design. This is not no coincidence. This ain't no slip. Nobody slipped through the cracks. This is by design. Right. Because guess what? Either we're gonna get paid for him or we can bury him. One of the two.
Right.
Because if we can't get paid for him, he'll get killed, or he'll kill somebody and we'll finally get him, and now he ain't never getting out. Right. But if I get caught with a bag of cocaine or a bag of heroin, you treat me like I'm a terrorist. And this guy just got caught with a pistol. Right. And he's out in 24 hours. I have a problem, which is addiction, and you treat me as if I'm a terrorist. I can't get a bond. Right. I can't get a furlough. And in some cases, they can't even get a house arrest. Yeah.
It's like you're kind of criminalizing somebody that has an illness, because really, let's face it.
Exactly.
Drug and alcoholism, I mean, those are illnesses.
That's illnesses. And it's been proven in documentary in court.
Absolutely.
So why you study incarcerating me?
Yep.
I need some help. You need to be putting me in a program, a 12-step program where I can learn about my disease, the affliction of addiction, so that I don't keep committing these heinous acts on myself,
Absolutely.
not
And
you.
and dealing with trauma, because that's another thing too, is that just as you know, the Black and brown community, I think that we are sort of I think we're starting to now kind of embrace therapy and just the trauma that we have received. I mean, I had to actually just be real with myself and look at my life. And I was born in the West Side, and I experienced I wasn't shot myself, but I did experience a shooting. and
Okay.
and that does I guess I didn't even think about it until, because I moved out to the suburbs and kind of forgot about all that. But on a certain level, I think that really did affect me. I have kind of a nervous sort of a nature, and I think I
Well, of
attribute
course
it to that.
of course, you're traumatized.
Yep. Yep. And I
Growing
think
up
a
in the
lot of
black,
us have just
I grew
growing
up
up
in the
in that.
Green Green.
Hmm.
Watching this happen, shootings day after day after day, dead bodies, robberies, gang fights, all this, and you land there. Even when you're in your sleep, you hear gunfight,
Yep.
da 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 da. You jump up, you hear the sirens, police sirens, ambulance sirens. You hear this repetitiously for years and years and years, and people don't understand that psychologically messes with you. You can't even go to
Absolutely.
school and concentrate. Now, we're
Hmm.
not even talking about the single parent home. We're
Yep.
talking about just this trauma in itself, and they're asking you to go to school and function.
Hmm.
And this is where the Ritalin, this is another conversation, but that's where the Ritalin and the ADHD crap came from,
Yep.
because they figured a way how they can shoot that, and then they can use that and say, well, he can't perform, he don't know, he's a dummy. No, ain't nobody don't know. It has never been such thing of that. But in the Black and brown communities, we go through so much horrendous crime that we don't have to go to the war. We suffer from PTSD from
Yep.
all the gun violence that we see that goes on in our community.
Yep. And then check this out. It only exacerbates it once, okay, you commit a crime and then you're incarcerated. You're already dealing with all this emotional turmoil, and then it's kind of being stacked on top of that too. So that's a recipe for a
It's a
nightmare.
it's a piece, Lorie, I do. It's called Resentment, Anger, and Violence. It's called RAVE, right?
Mm.
Everybody grows up with some form of resentment, correct?
Yep.
Whether you couldn't get some shoes you wanted, some pants, you didn't get the bike that you thought mom and dad should have bought you, or you came up in a single parent home, you had resentment for your father left, or in some cases where your mother left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's resentment. And then you're in a poverty-stricken community, right? You ain't
Yep.
got the best of things. That's another piece. So this resentment turns into anger, and the anger turns into violence, and the violence erupt out on the streets to somebody that has nothing to do with what you're going through, all because the mental illness piece you're talking about, which is we don't talk about it.
Yep. And even
So we
domestic violence too can
right, and we
happen as a
carrying this
result.
baggage on. We carrying this baggage for years and years and years. We walk around with this baggage
Yeah.
that we don't unload, and so, like you said, it's an atomic bomb waiting to explode,
Mm-hmm.
and they know this,
Yep.
and they use that as a weapon against us because we are uneducated and we don't know what's going on with us because we never found the time or went and said, hey,
Mm-hmm.
Lorie, something wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but it's just something wrong with me. I have suicidal thoughts. I
Yep.
have violent thoughts. I have thoughts of just hurting myself and hurting others. Why do I feel like this? What is going on? Can somebody help me? We don't have that because we don't have psychiatrists in our community. We don't have grief counselors in our community. Nobody
Yep.
comes when a
And
young
it's
man
stigmatized too. We see, oh, that's for white people. We think
exactly.
of it. We're not strong if we're, having to, see
And
a
that's
therapist or
another
something.
that's another myth that the Black and brown people have. We got to be weak and all that. No,
Yep.
that's
That's a
life. That's a
lie.
part of life.
Absolutely.
And so, like you said, we just coming around to it. Like I tell people all the time, I'm still dealing with stuff from growing up in the hood and my addiction, being homeless, being sexually abused. I still go through things, and it still plays with me but I talk about it more, and it helps free me.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't
Yep.
keep it in. I'm not gonna get a devil the power. I'm gonna free myself so I can free
It's the
somebody else.
secrets. There's so many secrets that
Because they say
people keep.
you only as sick as your
Absolutely.
secrets. That's what the program talks about. So I'm revealing what's going on with me, so I don't be a prisoner
Yep.
to my own mess, and I can tell on it, and so that I can get some help, and somebody can show me a point me in the direction where I need to go in order to get this help, because I know there's something wrong with me.
Yep. Processing it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And just like I had to process this addiction, just like I had to process the homelessness, just have to, because I thought I was penitentiary institutionalized, because every time I looked up, my family would throw me a party if I stayed out longer than 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So just letting you know, psychologically, it was something wrong with me, and I didn't know how to address it because we didn't have the proper change and help in the community like we once had.
Yep.
So we just dealt with, I can tell you, for instance, we just always, now I don't know if you heard about it, but people in the neighborhood say, I'm going to get high till I die.
Oh, wow. No, I never heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Because you're going through so much pain, you're trying to medicate the pain.
And just trying to numb it and forget about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just think, so that was the terminology we used to use, and that was insane to say that, man.
Wow.
But after all the traumatization you went through, this is how you actually started feeling.
Wow. So I know this is your interview with me, but I have a question for you though, Brother Raymond. What was your turning point? People how they talk about rock bottom, and what was it that really made you just turn your life around?
Well, one, like I tell people, it was God, right? It was in 2006. We had just came from the low end, the south side of Chicago, copping, getting some drugs, and we came back. That's when we was living on the Lower Wacker Drive. We had just came back from copping, and we were getting high. And if you remember the radio with the 8 big batteries and that 7-inch screen, we had one of those. And just like out of nowhere, Marvin Gaye Inner City Blues came on. And it says, make you want to holler, throw up both of my hands. This ain't living.
Oh, wow.
You remember that song?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Make you want to holler, the way they do my life, right? So it hit me like an epiphany.
Wow.
And I said, Marvin, this is my first book. And I said, Marvin is right. This ain't living. We only existing.
Wow. In that moment.
And in that moment, I asked God, and my guys, my buddies that was with me, they were saying, man, you blowing my high, man. I'm gone. And they left me. I'm standing there with my drugs, and I'm crying, and I'm just going through a thing. And I asked Lord, I said, Lord, if you take me. I said, Lord, if you take this away from me, you never have to worry about me again. Then they said, the Bible says, be careful what you ask for, right? And so he did what he did. And now I made a dedication to save as many lives as I can save. And so that's the crusade I've been on since 2006 or 2008 when I got out the penitentiary.
Wow. So you had that happen. You had the epiphany 2006, and then you were locked up, and then you made that promise to God and to yourself for those 2 years, and then after 2008, you just started making moves to make it happen. Then,
right? You first had to identify what was going on with me, and then I had to ask myself the real question of all. You gonna die like this? Either you're gonna die in the penitentiary or you're gonna die in the horrors of your addiction out on the street.
wow.
If you keep going down this path, there's only 2 things out of it.
Yep.
And the program say jails, institutions, and death, and not in that order. So it don't always come where jail can save your life. I've seen some of my friends get killed before they can get the help that they needed.
Wow, it's tragic.
So, that's why I'm grateful. I talk about the twins, the grace and the mercy. Them the twins. And I talk about that God had on my life, and that's why I dedicate my life to saving the many lives I can save. And that's why we're talking about this issue about these corrupt officers, because this is insane.
Yep.
They can't keep doing us like this. Whether they killing our kids on the streets and they kill us inside the penitentiaries, we losing alignment rate, and nobody seems to think nothing is wrong with
Yeah,
that.
we're
It's something
losing
wrong with
human resources, and that's really what it is. I mean, people. I mean, that could be. I always say, like, even in the work that I do in the daytime, with trade compliance, that's an area that really needs more people. I mean, we're constantly like looking for people to work with it, and even now, like you talk about the job shortage, it's hard to find people. But goodness, like if people are being killed, and dying in prison and all this stuff. I mean, the youth, what does that leave for our community? I mean, not much.
It doesn't. And then another thing, how many people are willing to train people to do what you do?
Right.
See, it's a lot of red tape. It's not like I would like to be a trades worker. I would like to import, export. I watch that too, and I see that, the stocks and bonds and all that. But I don't have a clue. But where is it where they're saying, okay, you come here and we can teach you how to become that? Just like with the trades. You got to go through the union in order to get this trade, or you got to go through all this red tape in order to get this trade. It shouldn't be like that.
Right.
If a young man or young lady wants to be a welder, carpenter, electrician, plumber, whatever it is, painter, he or she should have the opportunity to do that, which they did have it back in the day. And I don't know where it went to, but now it's not. And this is the big gap.
Yeah. But you know what though that is though? I mean, I hate to point to racism on everything, but that's really kind of like what it turned into, like back in, I don't know, maybe like the 50s or 60s. I think when a lot of these kind of trade unions, you had a lot of, kind of Italians and Irish, and they started developing
Polish,
the Polish, but that was the way of kind of keeping Black people out of being part of that, because, like you said, my father. He was a carpenter. He was never part of any trade, union or anything like that. But he was he worked until he was 86 years old when he finally retired. And he was probably one of the best carpenters out there. And
there you go.
Didn't have any kind of apprenticeship or anything like that, but he knew what he was doing.
Exactly. And see, this is what we're saying. There's so many of your fathers out there that just don't have the certification that can do just a better job as the ones in the union.
Yep.
But see, they're not addressing that. And see, this is what my organization is teaming up with a few other companies, and we're trying to push this to the legislators in order to make it come into fruition, to where if these young men and women they already have the skills of it, they just need the certification.
Yep.
And if they get the certification, that changes the parameter, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And so this is what we're trying to do with that as well, because we see the big gap. The white boys, we're going to keep it real. The white boys come from Indiana and all coming way in our city and in our communities, and they working right in our face. And here we got the same skill.
Yep.
But because we don't have the piece of paper.
Yep.
Then we can't get the job.
Right. Absolutely.
And so there go another trauma piece.
Yep. And how about, and here's the thing, why not utilize, jail and prison as a pipeline to help rehabilitate people? And when I say rehabilitate, I'm really talking about, getting that psychological component taken care of, addressing all the trauma and all that. I mean, talk about a missed opportunity, but now it's been turned into a business. So there is no concerned about what's going to happen to those lives that are lost, basically, and lost not just in the mortal sense, but just spiritually lost.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of the officers, what they tell you?
What?
You'll be back. They already know you coming back, because they already know ain't nothing out there for you, because you got that X on your back, right?
Yeah. There's nothing out there for them, but then there's nothing on the inside for them either.
Either way you go,
them get better.
What's that term? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's that terminology. And so with that being said, it's like it's an uphill battle. So now just imagine you're not spiritually fit to fight this battle. That's why suicide has went up as high as it has. And not only has it went with our youth, it done going on in businesses, and now the police officers have been committing suicide as well. So it's letting you know this is a disease. It's affecting more people every day.
Yep.
And we have to address this stuff and let these people know this is real. Now, just imagine all them inmates in there with Brother Ridley. They're going to be psychologically messed up knowing that their brother was good until that officer did that to him. Then they threw him in the cell like that and left him like that to die in his own blood.
Yeah. And here's something else I'm thinking about. It's like even now, like with you have like these mass shootings that happen at schools and even at the workplace. Now they actually provide grief counseling for people. I don't think they even do that in, let's say, within this case that happened with this gentleman.
They don't do it in the Black and brown communities at all.
Yeah, and let's
just keep it what it is.
Right.
It's griefing for the schools, but it's no griefing for the little girls and little black boys in the community who've seen a best friend just get killed over some senseless violence. Right?
Absolutely.
It's nothing done for that. So this is what I'm talking about. And then now you look at it back to Ridley. Now I'm his cellmate. I'm next to him. Now I just watched this happen to him. Now I'm on guard. And the first thing these guards try to do, I'm going to F them up.
Wow.
Because if I'm going down, I'm taking some of them with me. This is the mindset I got. Now it's war. Now we strap up for war. They used to talk about, and that was real. We used to put the telephone books strapped around us and go to war for real. Because it was a
really?
war.
Wow.
It's a war inside of there.
Wow.
That's a whole nother world.
Oh,
you could be struggling. One of my best friends, Sean Blackwell, died in Cook County Jail. Told the people there was something wrong with his heart. They told him go. They took him to a dispensary, gave him an aspirin, and sent him back to his wing. He died.
Wow.
This is the type of help we don't get. The help we need.
Yep.
And we need to be taught, and that goes all the way down to from the judges that sits on them benches that hands out the time. They can look at your background, right? And they can see that Raymond has been he's addicted. He's been going in and out of addiction. He's been homeless. He's having some issues here. So this is something that you can't lock him up. You can't lock that up.
Yep.
You can't keep
lock up. Here's the thing, though. And speaking of the judges, well, actually, here's a shout out to Maria Barlow, who.
That's my girl. That's my girl.
She was one of the. I think it was a record number of I think Black female judges elected. In this.
I had them on my show.
Yep. And I had the fortune of interviewing her as well. But that's the thing, though. She's from the community. She knows, people, and she has family and that have kind of experienced this. So I think that's the thing. If you have some judge that's from, Glencoe or up on the North Shore, they have no idea what the struggle is like living in some of these communities. So it's almost a slap in the face to, because even like when they say like a jury of your peers and all this stuff, why are we not afforded that, having a judge that's from a similar background to understand, what the struggle is like? Exactly.
So, and that's that goes with it too. And so that, and then it's the penitentiary deliverers. We should call them public defenders. That's what we call public defenders, right?
Penitentiary deliverers.
Yeah, they deliver us to the penitentiary. So because they're working with the state's attorney.
Yeah.
So they said the current incarceration rate deprives record numbers of individuals of their liberty, disproportionately affects people of color, and has at best a minimal effect on public safety. That goes to show you what's going on here. And then not only that, Lorie, when you look at what's really going on, they talking about the pipeline from school to prison. That's real. They determine if your child in 3rd grade is going to be a rapist, a thief, a murderer, a gangbanger, or a drug dealer. That's that ain't nothing but crap. That's crap. But they already stigmatizing us, right?
Yep.
Racial profiling us in the gate.
Yep. When, let's say, the white community, they're planning on, we're going to go to, Purdue or whatever,
the white community, they're gonna grow up to be skinheads. They're gonna be mass murderers. they're gonna blow up bombs and churches, and they ain't saying none of that.
They're saying what college they're going to go to.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
that's and it's just sad. It's just really, really, really sad when it's happening. So that's why BST is taking a proactive approach on it, and I've been a leader of the crusade for years, and so many people know me because they know I keep it real. I keep it 100. You know what I'm saying? And my motto is fake can never be real. I don't care how you dress it up. I don't care how pretty you look. I don't care how big your booty is. I don't care how sharp your dress is, how many muscles you got. If you're fake, you're just fake.
Absolutely.
And it's going to show. And in a recovery, we call them dressed up garbage cans. That's what we call them.
Wow.
And that's what it is. That's what a lot of dressed up garbage cans out there right now, acting like they care about our people, and they really don't. It's all for the money. Because when you get people like Willie Wilson, right, who can actually do some good, and you steer him in a whole nother direction, then you're not helping the people. You're not for the people. You're for yourself. We already know they're not going to let Willie become a mayor.
Yeah, which is great. And, and full disclosure, I must admit that, I think when he first, well, I shouldn't say when he first came on the scene because it was probably before my time, but when I first, started hearing about him, I had my questions. And I did question his, kind of image of being a mayor and all that. But then I started looking at it and it's like, well, wait a minute, you have to look at the city of Chicago, look at the makeup of it. I mean, shouldn't you want someone that's going to represent the everyday person and not just a business? I mean, you look at like Rahm Emanuel, for example. I mean, he was a big joke, but it was like he was basically protecting the corporate interests of the city, which I understand that is, the city is a company, and you have to be concerned with just kind of the business side of it, but it's made up of people, so you have to have someone that really understands the heart and minds of all the communities. And I just think that even Lori Lightfoot, she's done a poor job of really understanding just everyday people. I mean, she's a lawyer, college educated, and not to say that that's a bad thing, but I don't think she's ever really had to struggle. She doesn't know what the struggle is like.
Exactly. And so unfortunately, we're going to have to make this a part 2. Could you come back next week?
Yes, I will come back gladly.
We're going to do a part 2 on this, and because we have to go. You've been a wonderful guest, and I already knew how we was going to vibe anyway from when I first met. So we kicking it, and we could be kicking this about 9 o'clock.
I know. There's it's a deep subject. It really is.
And so
it needs to be talked about too. So.
And we're going to continue to talk about it. We're going to carry it on to next week. And so I thank you. It's an honor and a privilege again. Thank you. And I look forward to talking with you next week for part 2 of this. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been in tune to a conversation with Brother Raymond with my lovely guest, Lorie Williams. And we have a dynamic show, and we're going to have another one next week. So y'all stay tuned. I love you. Ain't nothing y'all can do about it. Katie Lowe, come on, take us home.
Hey, we thank you for joining in this Friday. And listen, have a safe weekend. You've been listening to Rhythm Flow Radio live stream right here on Meta Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spreaker. Stay tuned. Next Friday, come back for part 2. And listen, don't forget to come back for Opinions Monday. There's part 2 there where we left off. Okay.
We'll see you on Opinions.
Listen, as Raymond says, we love you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. But listen, we do pray that you have a safe weekend because the enemy is out there. Okay? Don't let him get you. Okay? Just keep that what they call that, Raymond? That faith.
That faith. Keep the faith.
That faith, baby.
That's right.
Keep that faith. So we will see you next Friday, guys. Have a nice weekend.
Peace.
You too. Peace.
Peace out.